everybody? Right now we got a 1989 Chevy pickup step side. The rear end started leaking at the outer seals here on the axle. Main one was the pinion seal in the front of the axle. Oh, it started leaking everywhere back here. I don't know if you can see the difference from the rust. Here we got like the natural wear rust, and then you have all this burnt gear oil on here, and it just started spreading everywhere. So right now I already have the cover off. This one's a 10 bolt, so it's 10 13 millimeter bolts all around. It's not that hard. Usually I'll leave this top one on here, not completely tight on there, but I'll break it loose so that when I take off the others and I pop loose the cap, all the gear oil is just gonna fall down. It's not gonna come falling on you or making a mess, because I've done that a few times, so it's easier this way. Here is the cap. For me, this is pretty dark. The gear oil was more, there was more in there than I thought. I thought this thing was already bone dry from the sounds I was hearing, and it just sounded like it was ready, so I decided to do this. Well, I had to do it. This truck has over 300,000 miles on it, so I said fuck it, we're gonna change out, we're gonna rebuild this rear end. Right now I had this 8 millimeter bolt is to hold this pin in here so that everything stays in place. It was loose already, and so it didn't take much effort to get it off. Usually I gotta use my long ratchet here, and it really works great for when you need that extra torque in those tight spaces. The 3/8 would just get in the way. So I got the bolt out. It's not broken. Do not strip it, do not break it, nothing. Once you get the bolt out, I like to turn this carrier a little bit more, about right there, where I can still see in here. I can get out those C-clips. My pin's gonna fall right where I want it. I don't like for it to fall inside the pumpkin, so I like for it barely to pass it, just so I can slide it in and out. Try to keep everything organized. Usually I throw all my bolts in here. It just makes it easier for me. So right now I'm going to take out these C-clips in here. We'll pull out the axles. I have to take off the carrier, which will be these two bolts here, and also one there, right there. Sucker's all in my way, and they get a little stuck in there, so I'm going to use a pry bar. Put a little pressure, it'll pop right out. Hopefully I can get a camera. Right now it's just me by myself, so it's kind of hard to do everything with just one hand when you need two hands for this job. Very messy, very gooey, but they're fun to do. I enjoy doing them. Well, I'll get back to you next time. Alright, back to this rear end. I got my bearing separator on here, and when you don't have a press, this is what I use. It takes a while to set it up. You gotta make sure it's centered. Well, for one, when it's down here at the carrier, because that's where it all starts at. Centered all the way to the top, of course. These shafts will go, of course, screw into the bearing separator. Make sure everything's nice and tight. It takes a little while, but once you get it set up just right, the bearing will come right off. Now I already did the other side, so I'm gonna show you guys. If I can get it to stay upright. Now it's gonna move a little, so bear with me. You can see right away it's already coming off. Alright guys, on this part we're removing the outer bearing on the rear axle. I got this toolkit here. It's kind of just like a toggle or some kind of anchor. It goes in the hole, then just grabs the bearing from the inside on the edge. You tighten the, just hand tight this nut right here just so that it gets a nice tight grip on there. Next, you get your slide hammer. Bear with me, it's a little hard to do everything with one hand on here. Okay, got it started. And I should have had this set up before I started, but I want you guys to see step by step. And even though the seal's still on there, I really don't care, because with the force of the hammer, it'll all come out. So there you go, you got your setup. And then you start pulling. There you go. You got your seal, you got your bearing. That's how the tool works. How it grabs it. I can't see it. And the next step, you just install the new bearing. But that takes a different tool. You got to get it lined up just right. Alright, everybody. I got it all cleaned up. Pulled out the old bearings, the old seal. Installed the new ones. I didn't show how I put them in, only because that was kind of hard with just one hand and holding the phone, and you know, I don't have no cameraman. But got that, and as you can see, I cleaned up the pumpkin real nice. I just use simple brake cleaner, spray it around, scrub it with the little nylon brushes. I put in a fresh race right now. Now I was gonna show how I put in the races, but if you know how, you know how. And if you're not ready to do this kind of job, I would let somebody else put it in. It's not that it's hard, but it can be a little tricky. I clean all the surfaces. I still gotta touch up this one a little bit though. It's still a little dirty. And here where the other races will sit in the carrier, I also hit that with the, where am I at? I have these little wire brushes. Here's the brass one. Also have a steel one here somewhere. So I like to hit it with the steel first to get all the rough stuff off. Even if it looks clean, I still hit it with the wire brushes. Then I move on to the brass one. And then I of course wipe it down, spray it with some more brake cleaner, wipe it down. Keep on wiping it until it's clean. Got all inside of there to get all that old oil, gear oil out of there. Here's the other side. Also got the new bearing in there. Got the new bearing in there with the new seal. Like I said, it was just a little too difficult with having to hold the tools and the hammer and how to hammer it in. But maybe another video I can show you that once I get a better camera or a tripod or something. So the next step is, well, I'm going to install the, can't see it from here, but I'm just going to set in the outer pinion bearing along with the seal. I have to take this carrier over to somebody because I don't have a press. I have the bearing separator. I got the bearings off, but now I have to press in this bearing, one on each side of the carrier. It also goes right there. Got my new bearings right here with the new nut. Oh, here's the seal that I'm going to put on for the pinion, the outer pinion seal. And once it's all in, of course I'll bolt it all down. I have to assemble it again with the spider gears, and then get oil, and I should be able to drive off. Okay, as you can see, I already have the carrier back in there. Again, I couldn't show you how I did it, but it pretty much falls follows it in place. Everything has to go on straight. You can't be a little crooked or anything. It needs to go in straight because of there's like these shims, these spacers that go on the edges, and everything just has to be pretty much dead on. I didn't show about the pinion gear, how to set the preload on that one, because I know there's a few ways people like to do it themselves, so I left that one alone. One thing I did want to show though is this pin that I was showing you earlier. I already got the bolt off. And one other thing I wanted to show was the C-clips. This one's probably gonna fall out right now. See that little, yes. That's it right there. So all it does is fall right into that groove. Very simple. Put it in, slide it back. So right now I slid it back because then it would fall out again. Same thing for the other side. So you take your pin, make sure you got the hole at the bottom. There's where the locking bolt or pin also goes to. Put it in, drive it through. Got it in. We have the bolt now. Start it by hand. Then we just go. Then you just tighten it. It's a little hard right now because one hand, of course. So sometimes this is what I do. I just like to use a socket. The socket can grab a lot better than if it's just your plain hand. Because the socket is will grab all 6 walls. Your hand only has 2 fingers, you know, to grab onto it. All right, nice and tight now. Now, one thing I did forget to do was pretty much prime all the bearings with gear oil. I'm not really worried about it, only because I still probably might turn it by hand and it'll still circulate. You know, I don't think it's anything bad. Or nothing I can't work with. Right now, I'm cleaning the hose for the bolt hose. I usually don't. I usually just grab like a pick and we'll clean it out. But this truck is 33 years old. So I want to clean all the threads, make sure all the bolts are clean before I put the cap back on. And that should be it. Well, after that I put in the gear oil, drive off. Hopefully it all nothing falls off or anything.